Welcome back, America. Senator Tom Cotton of Arkansas joins me. Two big subjects on the table, CHIPS Act and the Nancy Pelosi 1-6 committee. Good morning, Senator. How are you?
Good morning, Hugh. I'm good. I'm a little hot. It's been a hot time down in Arkansas. I know you're enjoying cool weather up in Maine, but you need to come down and suffer with the rest of us.
I'm so glad I'm not there. Senator, I was in favor of the CHIPS Act Plus when it was a $76 billion expenditure. It's gone to $280 billion. I don't know what's in there. Are you going to support it?
No, Hugh, I have not. I've generally supported efforts to try to bring more semiconductor manufacturing back to the United States. In particular, the most urgent challenge is diversifying the manufacturing basis for a company known as the Taiwan Semiconductor Manufacturing Company, TSMC. They make the world's most advanced semiconductor chips. And it's not safe for Taiwan or for the United States or for the world economy to have those chips made only on an island that's 120 miles away from mainland China, which has thousands of missiles aimed at it. So I think there's more targeted approaches we could get to help TSMC diversify its manufacturing base without, in my view, some of the problematic provisions of this massive bill, putting aside the amount of money it spends. I'm not sure that money is correctly targeted at the core of the problem, nor does it have sufficient security and counterintelligence measures, especially at the National Science Foundation, which is basically an academic grant-making institution, and our universities and colleges, many of which, suffice to say, do not follow best practices when it comes to protecting its Chinese espionage.
You know, I don't know if you followed it, but Rishi Sunak aimed a big barrel at a political nightmare at Liz Truss over the weekend by pointing out that when she was Minister of Education, Confucius Institutes opened up 30 of them in Great Britain, and those are thinly veiled fronts for the Chinese Communist Party. It'll be interesting to follow that. But I want to go to the Nancy Pelosi 1-6 committee, Senator, because Josh Hawley is your colleague, and when that committee departed from its alleged intent to smear him and attempt to shame him by the manipulation of image, not only did they fulfill what Dr. Kissinger told me on Friday on this show, that we are in an age of image that is replacing reason, I think they nakedly revealed that they're fueled by rage and fury and no other mission at all. What did you make of that particular moment?
Hugh, I think that was clear from the very beginning of this committee. It was clear in Nancy Pelosi's refusal to seat Jim Jordan and Jim Banks as Republican members of that committee, a break with precedent going back to the beginning of the House of Representatives in the 18th century. And I think what you've seen over the last few weeks is why Anglo-American jurisprudence going back centuries has found that adversarial inquiry, cross-examination, is the best way to get at the truth. There is no one on that committee who takes a view different from Nancy Pelosi, or even a view that's like we should examine the full context of all of these statements, of all of these recordings, of all of this video. We have no idea if the videos and the audio recordings and the testimony is being presented in its full context. For instance, all those snippets of depositions you see the committee putting up, they've never released the full transcripts. They've never released the full videos. We have no idea what those witnesses said in the full context of their depositions. And even if we had those, there was no lawyer in the room who was probing in the other direction. So, for instance, you remember, I think one of the witnesses testified that the president supposedly lunged for the steering wheel in one of the presidential vehicles. Well, did anyone ask the Secret Service agents who were in that vehicle whether he did that or not? To my knowledge, they did not. Why? Because it's such a convenient story for them. Why would they want to get in the way of the story? This is why they hired a former TV news producer to make these hearings.
So let me ask you specifically about Josh Hawley, what they call jogging Josh. And this really outrages me because it is a manipulation of video to engage an emotional response from the hard left of the sort that ends up with what we had with Brett Kavanaugh, the attack on Lee Zeldin. It's an appeal to anger and rage. And I have never seen, well, I'm not old enough to remember Army McCarthy hearings when Joe Welch said, "Have you no decency, sir?" But that was really an indecent moment. That was the manipulation of video for no purpose whatsoever other than to make the left even angrier with Josh Hawley. Or am I wrong?
I can't see any other reason for it, Hugh, like what the purpose of the hearing, what inquiry they were conducting to try to get at some kind of understanding of actions that happened that day that then might be the subject of proper legislative response within the scope of Congress's responsibilities.
You were a...
Hugh, I'll confess, though, Hugh, I will confess that I did not watch that hearing, and I have not watched any of the hearings, so I have not seen any of them out of the context that I see a snippet here or there on the news.
Well, I just got to tell you, Chris Hayes and Stephen Colbert on Thursday night or Wednesday night were congratulating themselves on how these hearings have finally produced a hearing worthy of emulation. That's so ignorant of law and history that I can't even begin to communicate. 30 seconds. What is the principal defect of this committee?
That it has no adversarial process whatsoever. Liz Cheney and Adam Kinzinger, the two Republicans, clearly share the views of the Democrats on the subject of the committee's inquiry. If you had someone like Jim Jordan or Jim Banks on there, not only would they be privy to all the information, but they would be probing that information and probing witnesses to try to get at truth, which is, again, what the Anglo-American legal system has done for centuries.
It's what the Fifth Amendment is all about. I just hope people understand what a great aberration this is from American history and law. Senator Tom Cotton, sweat it out another couple of weeks. I feel really bad for you. Not. Enjoy. Get your runs in, though. Get your runs in, because there's no excuse. He has no excuse. I'll be right back, America. It's Hugh Hewitt.